Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, the podcast for all things Mecha. Jumpship incoming.
Yeah, I was about to start us off.
Okay.
I can start singing again.
Don't give him any time.
Inspirational.
All right, no more cold opens. Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, episode 45.
Yes.
Wow. I'm one of your hosts, Bryan.
And I'm Choppa.
I'm Rob.
And we're here to talk about all sorts of giant robot stuff. So without further ado, let's go to the Dropship.
It's always the shortest Jumpship intros. It's Bryan just tries to keep it as short as possible.
He's got no banter in him.
No banter, because we got so much to talk about.
All the banters before we start.
Dropship landing.
I have a metal one.
You should get a bamboo one. They're much nicer.
This one's extends and retracts. The head on this one's plastic. Oh, that felt good. Okay, I'm recording again.
He got me scratching my back. Jesus Christ.
And welcome to the Dropship, where we talk about what we're working on, and not just that we're scratching backs. So Rob, you were the first one to scratch your back. So what have you been working on?
I've been doing a few 3D printing projects. My buddy Jack sent me a 3D printing file he found on the internets called an armadillo, and it's a giant mech, very Metal Gear Solid looking, and he's cool, and lots of little cool pieces. It's almost like makes a little kit. He said he got it from some place that does like free STLs every month or something, and usually he doesn't care about them, but he saw this one and he thought I'd like it, so I got it. And I printed it, and it's cool. It's quite tall. I'd say it's probably, I don't know, tall. Probably maybe 5 inches tall.
How long did it take you to print?
It's quite tall. It's 6'2".
6'2". It's actually me. I'm now a 3D printed mech. It took about a couple days. Didn't take that long. 3D resin printer. Didn't take that long.
Gotcha.
I think the longest piece was the body itself, and that was probably, I think, 6 or 7 hours. So I do a bunch of bits at the same time, so it's nice on 3D. On the resin one, as long as you can feel your base, it's only the height that matters. So, And the second thing, what?
I was just gonna say, it's still kind of funny to me that I haven't hit that point yet where like several days worth of printing is not a long time. Like to me, that's still like a day is still like a long one.
Oh yeah, I don't do anything that long anymore. A friend of ours just printed up the Daily Bugle that was part of some Patreon, and it took him 24 hours. I'm like, no way. I first of all, I don't think it would ever finish. I would always think it would fail halfway through. Like, I don't trust them enough to let something go that long, and I don't have the patience. Case in point, the second thing I printed was John Bear Ross, a listener of the show. He had a Kickstarter a long time ago doing Viper suits, and he just put out, I think it might be the last of the ones that were part of the Kickstarter, called the Marine Viper suit. It's like mech suits. Oh, they do 15mm and 20mm scales, and I believe this is 15mm, but it's quite tall. But I did that one all in one bed, so it was all just in one print, which I like doing. It's fun.
Yeah.
You get the whole thing all at once, you don't have to wait. But it was small enough that I could get it all in one bed. I haven't painted anything in forever. I have to start painting again. I say that every month, and eventually I will actually paint something. But for me, I think that is it. I did 3D print a dragon, but I don't think that's in our purview.
It's like a kaiju.
Yeah, as long as I make a mech fight it. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's the curriculum.
Oh, okay. Pat?
Yes, sir.
What did you do?
I moved back into my house last week, so I haven't done anything.
Well, I'm glad you're back in your house.
Yeah, we are still well, when I say we, I mean really my wife is really putting this place back together. We're just trying to make everything back to normal, and once that's done, then I can actually get back downstairs and I can start hobbying again.
Was it a good remodel, at least?
It was a good remodel. Everything turned out great. We're very, very happy with we got done, but as it is right now, everything is scattered amongst the rooms downstairs in the basement. My office is a combination of mechs and pots and pans.
Some might say the same thing.
So again, I've just been hampered by the remodel. So I mean, there'll be a day again when I start the hobby again. I really want to because I've seen John Bear's Viper thing, and I wanted to print that, and then I saw the thing that Jack put up, and then I was like, God, I want to print that too. I can't get to downstairs yet. I got everything in front of my printers right now, so I'm sad.
No,
gotcha. That's too bad. Soon, hopefully soon.
We feel for you. Not really. You have no excuse. Go do it. You're just too busy sitting in your new kitchen.
We're about to get that warm spell, so just move everything out into the lawn. It'll be fine there,
right? You
got a whole garage. Just put it in the garage. Although if you're going to go to the garage, you might as well go to the basement. It's the same distance. So anyway,
so did we get to Bryan? Is it Bryan's turn to tell us what he's done?
I believe it is.
Sure.
What have you done?
So I've been doing prep for Adepticon for some of the other non-sci-fi projects. So I honestly haven't done much that falls under this purview. But I will say, like, part of it did involve printing and painting. What's the Armada scale? Like, what would that count as?
That's a hard one. That's fleets. We're talking.
Basically, it's a like sailing battleship type game from Mantic. It's a fantasy based one. But I mention it just because like I found that I'm really comfortable painting like 28 millimeter things.
Well, yeah, it's based on whatever
Black Sails, I think.
Black Sails was 1,700.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had 3D printed the fortresses for the Armada Adepticon tournament, and so I went around painting those, and so that was a just from a hobby perspective, that was a little different for me to kind of play around with painting a different scale. I don't do much different things. I found that 28 millimeters kind of like my nice little niche that I like. But it was good to practice, some other stuff. So, but otherwise, like that really doesn't fall under mechs. So I haven't worked on anything that really qualifies as that.
No. Yeah. It's I said, pretty soon it'll warm up. I'll be able to prime some stuff without it freezing. So that'll be nice. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
I've been able to get away with doing some of that, like in my basement, where it's just like spray a quick thing, and then I have a box that I can kind of put a little lid on it.
I don't have a basement, unfortunately, so
yeah. But yeah, so that concludes the Dropship, and so next up we will move into the ComStar section of the show.
Message from ComStar.
I'm Bryan,
and I'm Rick.
From Dead Zone the Podcast.
And you're listening to
Mobile Armor Radio. Jump into the ComStar. It's like the car wash. But the ComStar is the section of the show where we talk about TVs, movies, books, comics, RPGs, and pretty much everything else under the sun that's not literally building these things. And so I'm going to pass it off to Pat this time. Obviously, the remodel interrupts some stuff, but have you been able to watch or read anything or get some gaming in on your phone while you're waiting for your house to get cleaned up?
No, not too much. Again, we're at a time where when I'm not at home fixing the remodel or being kicked out of my house, work is very short at the hospital. So overtime has been, what do you want to say, very lucrative. So it's hard to say no to that. So I haven't seen any new shows. I'm still waiting for some of the other ones to continue. I finished the second version of Genlock. Mm-hmm. there's really nothing out for mechs right now. We're still waiting for Pacific Rim to come back again. I suppose I could have did a deep dive on Netflix one day, but I just didn't because I'm trying to keep up with all the other new shows.
Yeah. It's tricky these days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things out there. It's hard, spoiled for choice, really.
It is really. So I will say I did mess around with some old Star Frontiers Nighthawks, which was kind of like their ship-based combat that TSR made back in the day, since we're talking about myself and another person are doing old RPG stuff by reading Dragon magazines, and it sparked my interest in one of the games that they put out. And
we haven't got there yet.
Yeah, so we haven't got there yet, but I knew that's where we were coming. So this leads up to the mechs because of, as you know, me and Rob and a couple of people, we played a Mechahack game one-off just for fun. The tried rules, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. And I want to continue doing some more of those Mechahack campaigns. So I was kind of looking through. I'm trying to get some.
Oh, that's good.
I'm trying to get some ideas on, because I'm having a hard time trying to piece together a story right now that doesn't sound like a Pacific Rim or a Ultraman or a Battletech novel.
Yeah, it's neat. So, you could just take some of the scenarios, and instead of starships, you just add mechs into it.
Yeah. So I went old school and kind of just seeing as reading some of those old things would stir the creative pot in my brain. So that's kind of what's been taking up a lot of my reading time, is old stuff like that. Somewhat mech related, because I want to move this Mechahack game that we've tried forward, because it was a good time. We had a good time.
Yeah, for sure. We got to we got to set more time to play more RPGs. It's just, what are those things? Got to find the times. And the people at the same time. That's the main problem. We all have time, and Pat and I hang out quite often, and then sometimes Jack's there, certain people are there. Yeah. But we just need enough people at the same time to be there at the same to play an RPG.
And that's the biggest.
That's the trick.
Making sure that everyone has the same time off.
Yeah, it's available the same night or same time.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
So, but as far as that's pretty much all. I didn't really watch much of anything. I didn't read too much other than trying to figure this thing out. I've been kind of on my off time, just kind of making my notes, fleshing out my scenario world for this Mechahack game. So, but that's it.
Cool.
How about you, Rob?
Well, I have watched something, but first I'll go through some of the news.
There's been a lot of news.
Somebody posted on our what's it called?
Facebook group?
Yeah, that there's Magic the Gathering's gonna have mechs in it.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Kamigawa Neon Dynasty is the new set, I guess, and it has mechs in it, and it's cyberpunk setting. I will not get into Magic the Gathering again. It ruined my life before. It will not ruin my life again.
Yeah, that's not enough to want to get back into Magic. But I will be honest with you, the one card that was posted, I wasn't too impressed with the way the mechs look.
Yeah, they're kind of like a little more anime style, kind of like almost paper mache looking mechs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that was just that one, but who knows? I don't know. I'll never know. It'll never know. Also, for Bryan, do you have a Switch, Bryan?
I do have a Switch.
Well, Front Mission is coming to Switch. Are you excited about that?
I am, actually.
I don't have a Switch.
Yeah, neither do I.
Well, you could get a Switch just to play this game.
No, I don't think so. But, yeah, so you're going to get it, I assume. I think they're remastering the first and second one, and I think they're doing a new one. That's the rumor, so...
Yeah. As I understand it, too, it's either... I think it is a remaster as opposed to just a straight port of the first couple of games. So that's pretty exciting. I actually have only played the third one. Listeners will remember that I did really enjoy it as a good tactical stompy robot kind of battle game. So I'm excited to check out these old blasts from the past.
Yeah, should be interesting. We'll see.
Nintendo, when they made that announcement, they were like announcing left and right, like a whole bunch of remasters of old games and stuff. So it was like, wow, Nintendo likes to do that.
Yeah, especially for the Switch.
Strangely,
it's easy for them to just port something back onto the Switch that used to have on PS1 or whatever.
Though we'll have to see how things go, because for those that have been paying attention to video game remasters lately, it's kind of been rocky. With like the Grand Theft Auto one,
oh really?
Looked terrible. Like visually, like what they did to try to remaster it just made the game look worse than it did when it originally came out. And even Nintendo, I think it was Ocarina of Time got a remaster, and like the visuals on it were just really bizarre at times. People have been upset. In some cases, you might argue justifiably so, but so we'll see how these other ones go. Hopefully, it goes well.
That's cool. The last bit of news is that Monster Fight Club is now doing miniatures for Catalyst Games for Battletech. The new modular ones that Creative Juggernaut did before, but they aren't doing them anymore for some reason. We don't know why. But they're moving on to do... They did some scenic bases and stuff, so I don't know if they're going into that kind of stuff. But yeah, so Monster Fight Club released a Wolfhound 2C. That's all modular for... I think they call it Deluxe on Catalyst Games, and it sold out within seconds. And they said they had 4 times the amount that they had of the Creative Juggernaut stuff, and it still sold out quick. But hopefully it's going to be able to be produced again. Hopefully it's not just a one shot. And it was also a better price. It was only $10, and the other one was like $28 or something like that. So it was a lot cheaper too. So it's the beginning of modular mechs in Battletech. They're testing the waters. Obviously there's a want for it since it sells out so quick every time that I'm sure we'll see more. And Monster Fight Club are the one. They also did Cyberpunk miniatures. They're kind of new on the scene for making miniatures, but they have some quite big licenses. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't. They didn't do the. I have it here somewhere. I don't even know where I put it. Somebody made the. I wonder if it was them who made the Shadowrun miniature box set that was just released a couple of years ago.
They might have actually.
It might have been them too. Yeah. So they probably do have a relationship with Catalyst, and I also assume that Monster Fight Club makes their miniatures in China, where the Creative Juggernaut was USA tried to be based, and obviously you can't make it enough of them, and at the correct price. I think China has the market on that, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is the beginning of more modular mechs. I'm not too crazy about modular mechs. I'm not a WYSIWYG kind of guy. I don't really care that much. And, I think that...
I don't mind the modular mech. Sometimes it's just fun to have your mechs look a little bit different.
Yeah, but that's what 3D printing's for. I think that's it's an old way of thinking, personally. I think it's going away.
That's kind of funny, because I do kind of fall in that category of liking the modularity of things. That's why a lot of my all my Striders for Dead Zone are magnetized, so I can swap pieces out and whatnot. So I enjoy that kind of stuff.
That's big. That's a much bigger scale, though. These are pretty small.
True.
These are 28 mil. It's like swapping out weapons on a hero for D&D or something.
Yeah, that would be some really tiny magnets.
Exactly. So I think it's a little smaller. I think the larger scale, sure. Yeah, I like the variety, but because they're like kits then, right? They're but on the miniature, I'd rather they just make 10 different variants of the mech cheap, and you can just choose which one you want instead of building one that costs more. You know what I'm saying? At that price point, it seems to me that they could build a whole set of them although $10 is probably about the going price for mechs nowadays, even non-modular ones. So, if you go to Ironwind Metals, they're about that price anyway. So, that price, I don't think it's a problem. That they could do what they want at that price, but it just reminds me of to glue together Infinity miniatures. That's the only. I think that really soured me on trying to. they're finicky miniatures. Like that's a problem. Anyways, enough in the news. What I have been doing though, I have actually watched most of Exo Squad. We talked about it last month, and I was like, hey, yeah, maybe I will go back and watch that. I remember it fondly, and it is much better than I even remember. It's such a good show. It was the first like attempt at a Japanese style cartoon in the U.S. It was 93 to 94. It was only 2 seasons, and I think it was pretty ahead of its time. But they said it was purposely made to be like Japanese anime, and I think that shows in the quality of the storytelling. The art is, 90s art. Luckily, it didn't have any CGI like Battletech, which came out. Battletech came out like the month after this ended, which was kind of funny.
Oh, jeez.
So, and then Battletech, they tried that whole CGI thing, which was terrible, and it really ruined the show. I think that show would be a lot more fondly remembered if it was all hand-drawn anime or hand-drawn animation for the fights and stuff instead of trying to shove in that CGI stuff. But Exo Squad, for anybody who doesn't know, it's like a war between humanity and Neo Sapiens, which they created as slaves, and they rebelled, and now this is actually after rebellion, and they started a new war. It's kind of fun. It's episodic, which is very interesting for 93 and 94. Like, that never happened back then. Lots of deaths, like booby-trapped bodies. Yeah, like, it was crazy.
I forgot about that cartoon.
Yeah, like, it's so adult, like, for the time. And it, a lot of themes like racism, slavery, shows brutality of war, a lot of political intrigue, betrayal, like all the times humans are backstabbing each other. And even the Neo Sapiens backstab each other. So it's really interesting. And it's definitely influenced by Robotech, Votoms, Battletech. Like, you could see a lot of Battletech in it. And actually, the toy line eventually had some Battletech designs in it. It was like cross-promoted with Battletech. So, and even the creator said that he based it on Mobile Suit Gundam too, which makes sense. It's the idea of showing war how it really is. And quality dropped off in season 2 a bit, like the art wise, but the story was still pretty good. I think they must have. The first season was only 13 episodes, I think, and then the second season's 39 episodes. So I think to make more episodes, they got cheaper for the art. So. But I
wonder if it's one of those things where, like, it's really common with TV shows where you have more money for the pilot to prove that it works, and then they scale back your budget for the next season to see if you could do it for less.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that's exactly what it was. And by the end of it, I guess the reason it got taken off the air, it wasn't that it was doing poorly. It's just there was a change in management. And I guess at I think it was, who made that show? I can't remember now. But they didn't want this more adult kind of cartoon, like, for kids. So they kind of shoved it on, like, 4 a.m. on channels and stuff and just killed it. So by the end, the ratings just dropped like a cliff. And
I tell you, these TV management guys just...
It was Universal Cartoon Studios and AKOM.
Yeah, there you go. But it's... Yeah, and the toy line is pretty cool. Now it's hard to get those toys because people love them, so they're really collectible. But it is cool. It is funny that they made a toy line for such a, like, pretty deep war story. like there's lots of deaths. I'm not joking about the deaths. And some of them are like, are you just allowed to kill these people? Like, they don't show blood or anything, but people just get blasted away. I was just amazed. And, or there's, like, second season went off the rails a bit. Went a little G.I. Joe with, in the cartoon where later seasons, they had strange things like mutants and stuff. The second season has some mutants. But they're straight up, like, just pulling people underwater, and you never see those people again. It's not like in G.I. Joe where you see a parachute. They're just gone. So, yeah. I've been enjoying that. I'm almost done. I think I've got about 6 episodes left. And I guess it wraps up too, which is nice. They wrapped up the series because I guess they must have saw the writing on the wall, and it supposedly has a pretty good ending. So I'm gonna watch the end of it soon. So that's what I've been watching. What about you, Brian? You got anything?
Nice. Yeah, I've got a couple of things. For one, I think I posted it in the Facebook group, but wanted to put a shout out there to I believe it was Funimation is posting the episodes for Samurai 7. Now, if you haven't seen this show, imagine, if you will, like the setting for that board game Scythe, where there's like just, it's kind of a steampunk giant mecha setting, and I mean giant mechas that are flying, and then there's some robot people, but it basically does an adaptation of the story of Seven Samurai, or for those in the American audience, the Magnificent Seven. It's a really good retelling of that story, but it does expand upon it and goes beyond it. You get a lot more insight, because obviously it's being a show as opposed to a Akira Kurosawa movie. They have the ability to go into the motivations of a lot of the characters a bit more, and with the setting being kind of more fantastical. There's some really creative things that they do with it. I believe it was a Gonzo animation back when they were like, firing on all cylinders. Like, this is around the time like Eureka 7 came out, and a lot of other shows like that. So definitely check it out. It kind of falls into that more fantasy mecha trope, but it's definitely worth seeing. Like, especially if you like samurai. Especially if you like Seven Samurai, you should check out Samurai 7.
And what is it on?
This is Funimation is posting it on YouTube for people to watch.
Nice.
So
check that out. I love the when these companies post old shows on YouTube. It's like, it's not making them any money anymore. Might as well throw it up there for free. Maybe get some ad revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely among the shows that I've been meaning to track down. For the longest time, I had one volume of the show, back when they were still doing that thing with anime where they were trying the Japanese way of selling you individual volumes, which was like 4 episodes. Most of the anime industry in the States has shifted gears because everyone likes buying box sets like a sane person. But yeah, so that's definitely one worth checking out, both from just really solid anime and really good mecha show. And then another one that popped up that I wanted to mention was there's a new little SD Gundam thing coming out. I know
Pat's
on the Nintendo
hacking
Switch.
up. He's trying to expunge
Pat
it from
with
him.
this SD stuff. But yeah, SD Gundam Battle Alliance is coming to the Nintendo Switch sometime this year, and it looks like a fun little cheesy game that I'm probably going to get and play with a couple of my friends. It looks like they're doing a lot of the different shows. So you got Classic Gundam going down. You've got looks like some Seed or Seed Destiny, along with it looks like Iron Blooded's in there as well. So,
all right,
yeah, one of those collection type games. But it looks like it'll be a fun time. And then I think that covers most of like the newsy news stuff that I had stumbled across. And one last thing. There's been a game. This is another one I posted on the Facebook group. There had been a game that I was in early access for quite a long time, or is it still called Greenlight on Steam, called Mechs versus Kaijus, and it officially released.
Oh, really? I haven't played it in a while.
Yeah. It's they announced, or they officially launched the game. Which is basically a little tower defense thing that looks really, really creative and fun.
Yeah, you get 3 mechs.
Yeah. I need to get my hands on it. I actually haven't bought it yet.
Oh, I played it when we first talked about it.
Yeah. Because I think I brought it up when it was still in early access.
It's made by the same people that made that other mech game that we talked about with the different tanks. Someone help me out here.
Yeah, I thought that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
I'm trying to... The only tank game that pops in my head is Valkyria Chronicles. And that is definitely not these days.
No, it was like a small grid.
Grid, yeah.
Made by the same people that make Into the Breach.
Into the Breach? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely check that game out. And I think they were doing like a launch sale, so that might still be up if you check it out quick. Other things that I did is I actually finally got around to do a full rewatch of ExFil.End.
Oh yeah.
It had been on my list for a while to just kind of go back through that show. There are parts of it I remembered very well because I watched the show when it was on Fox Kids as a Saturday morning cartoon, which means it was cut up to crap. This is when, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was on there and they would censor out the guns in that children's card game. Fox was kind of notorious for that kind of stuff. But ExFil.End had always kind of held that a special place for me in Mecha history because it was the first like fantasy mech show that I saw. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, like, it holds up really well.
Well, I gotta think the art is
animation.
Yeah,
the animation. It's very. I think the show came out in 2000, which means it looks very 90s. Mm-hmm. But I believe it was it Shoji Kawamori, the guy that did. I think it was. He did. He's the guy behind all the Macross designs. I'm pretty sure he designed ExFil.End.
Yeah, it was created by, yeah.
Yeah. And so which makes sense because this is a giant fantasy mech that's powered by the heart of a dragon and can transform into one too. So he can fly around. But Yoko Kanno's doing the music, so it's just bombastic and fantastic, and also very for those somber moments. So the thing with the show that's worth noting is it has 2 feet straddling this line, but fully stepping into like a fantasy medieval battle show and setting, and this pretty boy fantasy for girls. Because our main character's this girl named Hitomi. She's whisked away from Earth and finds herself in this this fantasy realm that's it kind of fits really well with the fact that I was replaying Legend of Dragoon, which is I think I mentioned before, kind of you get like power armor, almost like Power Rangers, but all powered by dragons. And they kind of have a very similar setting, which is a pseudo Bronze Age medieval kind of feel to it. Everything's kind of slapstick, but I gotta say, like the mechs in the show have such a great gravity to them, even though they're obviously like run off magic. There's enough like gears and straps and pistons and whatnot to really give it a mechanical feel. And yeah, it holds up really well. I really enjoyed rewatching it. It got a little too, it gets drama at times, but it was a fun time. The movie, it's been a while since I watched the movie, and I'm pretty sure that one doesn't hold up as well. Mm-hmm. Because it didn't at the time anyway. They try to cram the events of the show into a movie, but also make it way more violent and stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's what all the Mobile Suit Gundam ones, when they made the movies, they just crammed everything, and you're skipping from one part to another, and you're like, this doesn't connect. It's because they skipped a few episodes here and there.
Yeah, the movie has some pretty big sized tonal problems, mm-hmm. But the show definitely holds up. So if you want to check out a fantasy style mecha show on, apart from Samurai 7, ExFil.End is definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
And I think with that, I've rambled about that show plenty now. So I think we're going to move into the MechBay Hanger for our main topic for today.
Dun, dun, dun.
Da, da, da.
Now entering the MechBay Hanger.
All right, so welcome to the MechBay Hanger. So this is the part of the show where we do kind of a little roundtable discussion about a main topic for the day. And I thought, we've got a big gaming event coming up with Adepticon, and we talk a lot about like the big ones on the show, like Battletech and whatnot. And so I was thinking, what great way to get more use out of these, especially the miniatures that we kind of have collected and painted and hobbied with over the time, than to look at alternate games that are more model agnostic. Games that you can basically bring any model to the table and play with. So I thought that would be a fun little topic for us to just kind of go around, mention a couple that we're either familiar with or have played, and kind of make some recommendations for games that people might be interested in. So, Pat, do we want to start with you?
Sure. So my first one, I'm bringing back an old one since when you put this topic out for discussion, I was thinking, what can I do? And back in the day,
back when I was a kid,
back when I was a kid, back in 2015.
You were a kid in 2015, Pat.
No, so I think Alpha Strike had just come out for Battletech, and it was not the good version of Alpha Strike at that point still. So we were still looking for means of friends wise that still played. We're still playing Battletech the old way. We liked the idea of Alpha Strike, but we didn't like the way the rules were back then. They're a little bit better now. But then my friend found this thing made by 2 Hour War Games. It's called the 5150 series. They have several types of books out, but the one in particular I'm thinking of is called No Quarter Mecha Combat. And it's just generic rules for mech. Allows you to design your own pilot, where you can make them a grunt or what they call a star, like a star pilot. You can change out your mech. It talks about how to do it. It's a very simple D6 system. The downside to this is the dice system in itself. It runs on D6, but it only counts as 1, 2, 3 is success, and 4, 5, 6 is a fail. So everything you do is 50-50. There's no variation in the thing. That being said, you can also house rule that and kind of change that, Or it does, I take that back. It does give you a little bit more variation on the amount of success you have, because you do roll multiple dice. But it allows you to play either single mech, squad mech, or even battalion-sized battle mechs at a very thing. And most of these games are designed to be played in under 2 hours. 2 hours and unders is the call. Yeah, it's which is their namesake. It's even got solo rules, or you design your mech and then you go through the scenarios with a single mech, which is kind of cool. So this No Quarter is very hard to find, because as I did more research into it, I found out that they are now releasing what I'm going to call an updated version of this game to Kickstarter. It looks like in June of this year.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Right now they only have the Kickstarter preview page up. If you go to their website and click on the books, it brings you to the preview. And so it looks like they're going to kickstart 3 books called 5150 Star Army, Total War. So Total War is the first book, and it gives you infantry squad-based rules games in that set. One of the good things too is that it does have a background. It's not in depth as like I was, but you do have a variety of factions of different aliens. So then different things are available to you for your pilots and for your mechs, depending on what faction you decide you want to play. So the first book is, like I said, is Star Army Total War. That gives you squad base. Then the next book that you add on to it is called Star Army Total War Mechs and Vehicles. This is where you get to add mechs, tanks, and everything to your squad base games, which I'm finding very interesting. It looks like there's going to be 140. There's going to be about 50 tanks and mechs for stats. It looks like. Since we're talking, this game is designed to be. These games are also designed to be played with either chit counters or figs, depending how you do it. Which is really, so if you don't even have cardboard, you can make little chips. It looks like in the Kickstarter you're going to get a cardboard cutout of chips, so you can play it in chips.
Nice.
Yeah, I do see on Drive You Through RPG they have 5150, the original. I don't know if that has all the mech stuff in it, but and they have some previews for the new stuff coming out, which is cool.
No, they do a whole bunch of slew of different like fantasy rules. So the mech specific one was no quarter.
Yeah.
The other ones were, so that one was kind of hard to find. There is a free download somewhere out there that you should be able to get it from if you look hard enough. But the third book in the Kickstarter is going to be called, of course, Total War Star Navy, and then that adds space and aerial combat to it. So it's like a little bit of army, mech, and planes in this one Kickstarter set. I'm gonna keep it, and I might actually kickstart it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
cool.
Because I'm looking at it for
talking about it's got you interested, and it's like, you know what, might as well do it live.
Yeah, I mean, just the books themselves would be nice to have. It's $45 for the 3 books, or $50 in print.
Not until it's not coming out until June, though. You said the Kickstarter.
Yes, that's what it looks like on the website. Because you get the project draft link from their website. But it's a nice little set of rules. It does make the game go fast. I do like the fact that you can play different factions, get different racial abilities. There is a way to cheat death in the game, but then you lose reputation points. And the more rep you have, the more things you can do. So that's kind of linked in that sense. There is electronic warfare involved.
Nice.
So it's a little more complicated than you would think for a 2-hour game, but it's nice. It's a nice little set of rules. I'm glad that you were able to remind me that I had this sitting around on my hard drive. So, but that's what I got. So keep an eye out for 5150 Total War, the 3-book Kickstarters. If you want to get a quick look at it or an early look at it, there's no quarter. Look for 51 no quarter, 5150 no quarter. Mecha Combat is the book. Is the PDF.
Gotcha. All right, Rob. You want to go next?
Sure. My first one I'm going to talk about is called Mechahack. It's based on Warfleet's FTL, the one-page rules. It's made by Mark Bell. He posted it on the Facebook page for the one-page rules, and he just modified Warfleets to use mechs, and he's changing it up as he goes, but one-page rules, the whole thing of it is literally one page. So you get one page of so it's super simple, easy to learn. It's all about getting on the board and playing your things out. And it's, super simple gameplay. 3x2 it's played on, 5 to 10 pieces of terrain, and then you can use hexes if you want to. But it's real cool. That I like one-page rules because I hate rules, and one-page rules are the way to get around it. They do a grimdark one for 40K. Warfleet's FTL is a spaceship combat game. So if you go to I really suggest joining that group, the OPR group, because it's just amazing all the different options they have out there. And I think generally most of them I think are free, but if they're not free, they're cheap.
They're predominantly you can get the very basic rules of how to play for free. And then I think they have paid ones that offer like greater depth as far as like different like forces and armies and stuff will have a bit more like their own little set of rules for each one. But no, they got a lot of great stuff on there, and they've even started doing 3D models. They've been doing STLs these days for the forces that they've created for their miniature agnostic game, which is just kind of fun.
Just to give options for people who don't have that stuff, especially for like war fleets. It's hard to find spaceships, really. So it's good to get that kind of stuff. Everybody has mechs laying around, so. But yes, Mechahack.
That's true.
It's, if you're into OPR, if you're into war fleets, this would be super easy for you to get into. But like I say, it's one page, and then there's army creation as the second page. And then other than that, it's just sheets for keeping track of things. So it's literally 3 pages for the whole book. And I'll put a link to the where to download it in the show notes, so you can check it out yourselves. And that's it, Bryan. What you got up on there?
So the first one that kind of came to mind when I started picking this topic was I'd been starting to get into a lot of Osprey Games catalog with a couple of the other games that they have, but one of their big things commonly is that they're typically miniature agnostic with their rule sets. And there's one that popped out right away when you started searching for that, and it's one called Gamma Wolves. It's like a post-apocalyptic mecha warfare game. Haven't had a chance to play this one myself yet, but it does sound really fascinating. You have kind of different levels of mech frames as they were, light, medium, and heavy. I think it has some like really basic line of sight stuff. You have different pilot stats also kind of factor in. One thing that kind of popped out to me is that they do like a 3D6 test system, just like Dreadball, which I'm a fan of. I love that style of tests. And adding, subtracting dice as far as modifiers go. I just love that style of gaming. And so this is kind of their game that's kind of centered. It kind of has that feel. Looks like it's kind of based around that infinity scale, but they did have a number of trying to remember the base sizes. It did kind of run the gambit as far as like I think even the medium size was like around 70 millimeters, and I think the large ones were even bigger, into the hundreds of millimeters. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth checking out. They have, I think they have like a little introduction, like PDF, just to kind of take a look at it. It doesn't have any of the stats per se, but it seems like it's a pretty straightforward set of rules as far as like, okay, here's your front arc. This is where you can target stuff and kind of go from there. So I think it'd be a really fun way to take out some of your other mechs, maybe even combine different scales in fun ways. Because I think they said like the light side is to represent like people in power suits. Medium size, would be a little bit bigger, and then obviously the biggest ones are the big heavy mechs. So definitely sounds like a fun system. Osprey Games make a lot of different stuff, but the ones I've checked out so far, like the Frostgrave, the Stargrave, and things like that, have been a lot of fun. And so that's definitely one I think people will be looking into. So I think we'll turn it on back to Pat. Do you have a second one?
I do, and we talked about this briefly at the beginning of the show, and I'll bring back up Mechahack. I tend to lump this more as an RPG game in myself, but the rules and everything set up that you can't actually play with just using MechZone, and you can actually make it a mech battle game in some sorts, because you do get tests, you get a pilot, skills and weaponry, and it works out really well. It's very easy. It tells you how many squares. This would be a grid-based game, of course, because it's all based on grids. distances and everything. And it would work really well in a squad type thing because there are some powers that are there to help other mechs rather than like a medic mech in a sense.
Like Ratchet.
Yeah, like Ratchet in a sense. I can't even remember what type of mech that was. But the good thing about any of these hacks is that they're there to be simple and fast and things like that. So it's just another one. I mean, this one I would probably rate as the easiest and the most simplest of them all. So if you're looking for a little bit more, what's the word? A little more substance, Mechahack is probably not what you want. But if you have just some mechs, you have an hour, a little bit. You guys don't know what you want to do. You want to play a mech game, but you can't decide what it is. You can throw a little dice and play a little Mechahack in a sense, in a battle sense, like that. But because I played it in such a role playing deal, it feels more like a role playing game than it does just a straight up mech game.
Yeah, we played it on Roll20, which so you still had the things on the Roll20, the chits or whatever on from above, kind of, but you could definitely play it on a board easy enough. It would be and it was still like there were still a lot of options for movement and all the special abilities you have. Like it still added some depth to it. So it was I would say it's pretty good for that kind of thing. Like it is a nice combat system in an RPG, especially because it doesn't get in your way really.
100%.
Very cool. What's next on your list, Rob?
Next on my list is Weasel Tech by Ivan Sorensen, the same designer who did 5 Parsecs from Home, a famous solo game. This is also a solo game. It's still in development, really. You can get the Drive-Thru RPG does have the book you can buy, which I did, and he's updating it all the time, adding little things in here and there. But it really is a campaign system to in a mech kind of world, and you play through. Bryan, you have a lot of experience with 5 Parsecs from Home, right? You played that quite a bit.
Yeah, I've played it a handful of times. I kind of have a good understanding of how the system works. Just haven't taken the time to actually play a very long campaign, but it is fun. Lots of tables and rolling dice.
Yeah, because it's all solo play. So, but it's this one is he says it's not so much Battletech. It's more Macross, Full Metal Panic, Gundam, kind of high octane warfare. So you're doing a lot of crazy moves and stuff like that in this. It's a lot more That's anime neat. Style. So they do have it's all about solo campaigns, and then for the miniatures, he says anything 6 to 10 millimeter scale with 15 millimeter terrain. So that's right in the Battletech kind of area. So it says Battletech Cav, Heavy Gear, Kids Logic Robotech, like any of those can be used for this game. So it's built right into the game that you're using the miniatures from any game you want. So, and I'm sure if you wanted to play bigger scale or smaller scale, I'm sure you just have to change some numbers here and there. And he also says, cool. You can replace the mechs with tanks or acid spitting alien creatures or anything else. It's the rules work. That's all it is. But it's kind of cool. I like the idea of the solo game because you don't always have someone to play with, so it is fun to go through.
And like to speak like from 5 Parsecs, like it is, as even though you're kind of just rolling on these tables to like determine like your scenario and stuff, it does become very easy to kind of craft the narrative around. It's like, okay, so we went to this place and we got connected with this guy and he got us a job to do this thing. Like it has a really solid flow to it that suits that kind of narrative play on top of just the actual like solo play. So that random generation kind of has a really fun feel to it.
As we say on Dragon's Tome, our Dragon magazine, everybody loves rolling on tables. So
that's true.
The more tables, the better.
I love a good table.
Random generation is it's always fun. Cool.
All righty. Well, for my next one is another kind of solo-centric game that came up when the quarantine stuff kind of first came down. This was actually one of the first ones that popped onto my radar. I think this was before the latest 5 Parsecs edition had come out. Is this game called Exploit Zero. Now it had, I'm trying to remember, it used to have a different name.
Hardwired.
Which was Hardwired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that book somewhere here too. It must be a collector's item now. I have the Hardwired version.
yeah. That paperback copy of the.
Yeah. And its expansion too. I have both.
Yeah. So Exploit Zero is the current name of it from Patrick Todorov. This was Todorov. And so this was the premise behind this game is basically you play as a group of like a little group of either Shadowrunners or just hacking, a little cyberpunk team that are trying to complete an objective, whether that's like capture data and get it out of there, or infiltrate a base or something like that. I think the starting mission is even like escort a VIP out of the hot zone kind of thing. And it's a really fun game because it works in a kind of fun like push your luck style of dice mechanics. Basically, you get, I think it's 4 dice. I don't have the book in front of me. I really should have gotten it out here. But you have a number of dice that are different sides. So it's like a D6, a D8, a D10. I think it's a D4 is the other one. Or it might be a D12. I forget the gambit that it runs. But the premise is like you have there's a good action economy with it, is that you use your dice to perform kind of extra actions. And that can actually be moving. So you get like one move that's so many inches. And then it's like, okay, well, I need to move again. And in order to do that, I have to use a dice and I have to get a specific number. And so you kind of like, okay, well, I kind of plan out my move. I got to move twice and then I got to shoot that guy and I got to hope I take him out. And then I'll, move again or do another action. And so you use this dice pool, which is like, okay, well, I need that one to work, so I'm going to give that one the most sides of dice. This one, it's okay if I don't get it, so that gets the D6 or something like that. So you really kind of have this fun weighing and balancing of your dice pool as your actions, as it were. And so it's always fun where it's like, I just need to move again, and you roll. And it's like, oh, I fail. Well, I've now burned that action, and I have fewer dice left, but I still have these objectives to get. And then on top of that, this is kind of where it comes into the mech situation, is that it has an escalation of difficulty, where the enemies you start out fighting are just kind of grunts. They all come with like one action, like a move and a one action. And so they're pretty easy to kind of counter and take down. But as you take longer, stronger opponents start showing up, right? And so eventually you got guys that come in, they have 2 actions. Then you get guys that are on par with your heroes, are kind of the final big bads that show up to fight you. And so I'm playing this all with Dead Zone minis. And so, by the end, I've got big old Peacekeeper power armors and Striders and stuff showing up to fight our heroes as they're trying to escape and not die. But it's a really fun, it's a light game. Like the whole idea is that you can do no prep work for people, just kind of give them their sheet, their character sheet. And it's like, okay, everything you need to know is on here. Let's start playing. And yeah, so definitely check it out. There's 2 expansions for it. One is an expansion that just kind of adds more stuff kind of on top of that original layer. And then there's the third second expansion, third book, is actually player versus player, as opposed to player versus the NPCs. So that's a lot of fun stuff. Definitely check that out. It's I think that one's only on Amazon. Oh, they do have War Game Vault has it as PDF, but otherwise it's available on paperback on Amazon. So check it out. It's a fun one. It's definitely a blast.
Cool.
Sounds good.
And I think we might have time. Do we want to do one more?
Sure.
Just between all of us?
I'm tapped out.
Yeah, Rob, you had one that's, I think, worth mentioning here.
Well, this is a little self-serving, but it's a little something called MechZone.
Yeah.
It's based on Dead Zone, but originally this game, we played it the very first Adepticon we went to. Johnny Pelletis, is that how you say his last name, Pat?
Yeah, Pelletis.
JP. He created this kind of like just a beer and pretzels game to use the mechs from from Dead Zone in a giant game. I don't know how many people were at the table. It was huge. And but V1 Dead Zone, which it was based on, was terrible for the mech fights because everybody only had one hit point. Like later on, size mattered to hit points in Dead Zone, but V1 Dead Zone it really didn't work. But it was then modified by Pat and Bryan Wade, and it was a little better. And then Jack Fike and I jumped on it for Adepticon, 3 years ago now, I guess. And we did a 3.0 version. It's called Midnight MechZone now. We added a whole storyline to the back end, and it's based on Dead Zone 2.0, so it's a little behind the times now because Dead Zone is a 3.0 out, but it still works great. So it was originally made for Dead Zone Striders and other walkers in the game, but really it's miniature agnostic because we modified the hell out of those minis so much that they were basically kit bashed them, so it doesn't really matter what mechs you use. It's
the creativity behind like what we did for kit bashing was so much fun. That I won't lie, like that's what inspired me to do like my Gundam mechs, is seeing those modifications you guys made.
Yeah, we just went crazy and just tried to make it as different as we could for each of the mechs. And now I think we should update it and make it so you can build your own. Maybe we have to make some 3.5 with some mech creation tools. But
yeah,
the full game we had like a little preview up on the website on our Facebook, but I'll have a link to the full game. We're gonna have we'll put that out there for everybody to play and to try out. Like I say, you can. The miniatures are 28 millimeter in the original game, but you can really make it for any size, and just WYSIWYG the weapons and use whatever miniatures you want. So check it out. It also has a great ad to Dead Zone the podcast, which is now Bryan's podcast. So
yeah,
but it was fun.
No, it's a lot of fun.
And for 3.0, we made it for a smaller group because the original game was, I swear, it was like 15 people, and it took forever. We went like all night playing that game. I remember that's the first time I met Coach and his son Andrew. And Andrew, he was 12 at the time, I think, and just started trash talking the hell out of me. And I was like, "What, this little kid trash talking me?" Little did I know that we'd all become good friends. But it was just pretty funny.
That's the first year that we all met, right?
Yeah, that was we knew each other, but it was the first year we met in public, in person. Yep.
Yeah.
What year was that? Do you remember?
That was a long time ago.
This predates me. I was not there.
No, Bryan, you were not there, yeah. But yeah, it was fun times. A fun time was had by all, and I think the new version, it's a little more streamlined. It forces people to fight. It's and not just hide, because that was a lot of things with people would just hide out. This one, there's like moving walls, because it is an arena game now, so that moves walls to push mechs together, so they force them to get into combat. And it was, we demoed it at the Adepticon, like I say, about 3 years ago, and it worked really well. And it pretty much, the beauty of Dead Zone, it runs itself. You don't need a game master. I was a game master for it, but I was so sick at the time that I was barely there, and it still everybody had a great time because I was so out of my head at that point. I was deathly ill, and before the plague, this was my own personal Omnicron.
Kind of crud.
So my own personal plague.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is Rob was patient zero.
Could have been.
This was COVID. This was COVID-17.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was 2017, wasn't it? Or 20? No, it would have been 20. When was the last Adepticon? 2019?
Yeah.
2019,
No, 2019
yeah.
was canceled. 2018, I think it was. So it would have been 2018. But yeah, fun times. And hopefully everybody will try it out and play it. Like I say, all you need is a gridded map, board, and your own miniatures. So try out MechZone. Bryan, do you have another one?
I think for time's sake, I'm just going to give honorable mention to Lancer, which is a fun game that popped up on our radar a while back. It's a combination. It is a bit more of like an RPG. They kind of have a solid split between narrative play and mech combat, but it's very much the focus of the game is that combination of the two. So definitely check that one out. I believe that one's up on Drive-Thru, and I think I got it off of itch. itch.io as well. So really fun. Like the art and everything in the book is really creative. So it's a lot of the mechs like you'd see in if you guys remember Love, Death and Robots, like the mech segments in there kind of have that feel of very frontier-esque mech management, as it were. So these things look worn and rough. But then there's also some really nice high-end, sleek-looking things. So they run the gamut, and so it's very open to bringing your own mech.
I'm back to
but with that,
I have the hardback of Lancer up on my shelf up here. Once again, barely touched it, but the art was it's really like crazy, like alternative art looking for all this stuff. Really different from everything else, which is nice. Yeah,
it was a very visually striking game.
Yeah.
And so like I'm even just scanning through it now, and there's like a person that has like a hologram for a head, like some really creative stuff. But yeah, definitely check that one out. And if you guys have any games that you like to play that you take mechs from other systems and combine into something else and have a really fun miniature agnostic game that you want to share with everybody, post it in the Facebook group or any other social media that we find ourselves on. And so with that, I think we're going to hit up the ExFil.
Let's ExFil out of here.
And so welcome to the ExFil, where we say our farewells for now and wish everyone a very safe and happy time. Hopefully,
we're gonna wish me a happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Pat. And also, by the time before the next episode comes out, we'll probably have gone to Adepticon. So
unfortunately, I won't be going, but
oh, sad day. But I understand.
But you guys, have a good time. And if anybody wants to go say hi to these guys, they'll be in the Mantic areas. So just go bother people in Mantic areas and ask for Bryan and Pat and poke at them.
Yes, we will be
poke at us with sticks. Here you go.
Now I'm remembering my anime convention days, and one of them would sell "Is My Roommate Dead?" sticks, which was basically just a little dowel rod that you could poke people with.
That's what we need you for. For you, I mean, you sleep in some kind of transdimensional pocket.
Yeah, you couldn't poke him because he's not there. So
that's right.
Sleep in my hat. But yeah, so if you find yourself at Adepticon, come say hi. We're gonna have all sorts of demos and games going on throughout the whole weekend. There's Dead Zone, there's Dreadball, there's Kings of War is huge. There's tons of giants in that. So if you want your fantasy fix of giant critters, definitely check that out. And Overdrive, where you have the giants of Dreadball slamming into one another. So should be a fun time. We will be exhausted.
100% true.
So with that, have a good night, everybody. I've been Bryan.
I've been Chopper.
I'm Rob.
You're Brob?
Yeah, it did sound like you said Brob.
Rob.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I
Maybe we're just tired.
Rob.
It's
Pre-Adepticon tired.
It's like a combination of bro and Rob. I'm Rob, bro.
I'm a bro.
He's just trying to move up the alphabetical list. He's trying to get ahead of you, Pat.
Oh.
That's true.
I get it. I see it now. I see it.
Let's get out of here.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Oh, boy.
This has been Mobile Armor Radio. Join our Facebook group by searching for Mobile Armor Radio. Find us on Twitter at @MArmorRadio. Find us on iTunes and visit our website, mobilearmorradio.podbean.com. Join us on the first of every month for more Mecha discussion.